Welcome to the DTC Exits Pod. This is your host, Adonis, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Nick, who has been in the e-commerce space and overall the online marketing space for 7 years. So in this interview, we'll go over what goes behind the scenes when you're spending 300K plus a month on ads across Facebook, TikTok, and Google. What's the team structure like? What are the challenges? And, going forward with things like AI, what's next? What's a focus on? What skills are important? So if you already have an e-commerce business or you're looking to acquire an e-commerce business, it should be very useful so you can just get an idea for what really goes behind the scenes, because it's not easy, especially when you're spending a lot and you're growing your team. You have people to manage. You need people like Nick that have those skills to help you out, whether you're a marketer or not. It's very important to have these people that can come in and help you grow your business. So hope you learn a lot. And if you want to get in touch with Nick, his email will be in the description. So check that out and hope you enjoy it. Guys, welcome to the DTC Exits Podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest, Mr. Nick. He's been in the e-com game for quite some time, and I'll let him kind of tell you guys a bit about himself. But long story short, Nick has been in info and e-com as an agency owner and service provider, working with health and wellness brands, skincare brands, etc. I believe one of your clients is doing about 7 figures a month right now with e-com.
Yep.
But real quick, can you tell the audience a little bit about how you even got into e-com and this whole digital marketing space?
Yep. So I'll try to make the story quick. I was in college from way before college though. Like I've always been into entrepreneur type stuff. Like I would take my mom's food. She's Jamaican and Chinese, so she was cooking a lot. Great food. I would take her food to school, piece it up, buy the chicken leg, buy the rib, sell it for $1, whatever it might be. So I was always selling stuff. I always knew I wanted to sell something, have a business of some sort. And then when I got to college, I was in business management, the business management program, but I didn't see a path to starting a business through what I was learning in school, because none of my teachers actually had businesses themselves. We were selling hamburgers on the virtual whatever game to learn how to start a business. And I was like, this is a joke. So from there, I've always just gravitated towards people who were like into the same type of things. And like one of my best friends actually is he was working at a Fortune 500 marketing agency at the time. And he came down to visit my roommates and I, and he was learning a lot on his own. It prompted him to buy a course from Dan Henry. That course was, the whole thing about it was, all you need is 10 clients at 1K each to make 10,000 a month. And he brought that course to us, and we're just in college having fun. Like I was still thinking about business, but not too seriously. And he was like, y'all just need to watch this course. Like if you don't do anything else, like just watch this course. So I watched that course. I understood the value, like how easy it is to bring more than $1,000 a month of value to a local business, to be able to charge them 1,000. And once I understood that, the whole, all you need is 10 to make 10,000 a month, that was like everybody's goal, right? So from there, started working with like pizza parlors, tattoo shops, Haitian restaurants, like any type of restaurants, local business. I tried to get dentists as clients. I had one for a little bit, but they were a little bit of a pain type of client. So that gave me my introduction into business, got those businesses a lot of results, but quickly realized how I scaled beyond their ability to like handle the marketing. Mm-hmm. And that also capped what I could make with them, So after a while, it was just like, okay, I need to expand to something else. So that same friend, their agency had a few e-commerce clients. And with those e-commerce clients, like he used his experience to teach me more about it. And then from there, I got into e-com myself, closed my first client, never touched the e-com brand, but I understood it thoroughly enough and did enough research to speak about the process with enough clarity to close him. And from there, it was history. Just kept rinsing and repeating, getting my own like one-on-one experience with e-com, and then rolling into things from there. After I started getting into e-com, I stopped doing local business completely. It just didn't make sense economically in terms of what I could charge. So
Mm-hmm.
Started focusing on ecom, and then shortly after that, it was just like, after a certain threshold, like not all marketing is the same, but a lot of the principles are. And
Mm-hmm.
I had an info client come through my ecosystem and need help with marketing, and they asked me for help with it, and I was like, like I don't really do this type of marketing. However, here's what I think you should do. Here's what I would do. And that's how I broke into the info product space. So since that day, it's been e-commerce, info products, and like those are my two main focuses. But at this very moment, I can tell you that it's probably going to be on a partner basis, just working with ecom, and then on an info basis, only publishing myself as an info product brand.
Okay, so running your own offer on the info side. Okay.
Talking about what I love to do best with partners, which is ecom. And that way I can keep my focus on one thing and still make it feed two things,
Gotcha. Makes sense. So it sounds like what you experienced with local service-based businesses was like scalability was an issue, right? Like you could bring them a bunch of leads, but at the end of the day, they were limited to how many clients they could fulfill, I guess.
Correct.
Yes. Makes sense. Okay. Well, before we dive a bit deeper, gotta say shout out to Brett too, because we met last year. Thanks to Brett.
Yeah, I saw him at Lifetime Fitness 3 days last weekend, I think. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I can't work out at Lifetime, man. It's just too many people. But that's the good thing, though. You can run into some good people sometimes.
Yeah, I try to go in the mornings, so I don't have to deal with any of that. But
makes sense. Okay. So, can you tell us a bit about like your current e-com clients? Kind of like what is it exactly that you do? Like because marketing is so broad, right? Like there's so many things that go within marketing, from email marketing to media buying to creative strategy. If you could just like break down, how you help e-commerce brands.
Yeah. So definitely, I don't want 100 clients. I don't have 100 clients. I have less than 10. At this point, I don't consider myself an agency anymore. All my partners, I call them growth partners because that's what they are. We're here to help them grow. Like whatever constraints they have, if it directly impacts scaling and marketing and growth enough, like that's something that we'll take on and support them with. So if that's CRO, if that's ads directly, if it's creative strategy, if it's helping them source affiliates better so that we can get our creative flywheel spinning fast enough to feed ads, like whatever it might be, breaking down their P&Ls to understand like what are your borders, what are your lines in the sand with certain metrics like MER and contribution margin and stuff like that. Those are things like we'll take over. So it's really we're their growth partner. Whatever they need to grow is something that we'll take on. With that being said, it's not like we won't do anything. It has to make sense. It has to be high priority as it relates to growth. But that's how I break that down.
Okay. I think you mentioned two things that some people may or may not be familiar with yet. I think one was MER, so the marketing efficiency ratio. Can you explain a little bit, like, what that is and why that's important for you and your clients?
Yeah. So MER is like, it's one of the core metrics. It's like one of the higher level ones. It's what percentage of revenue is being invested back into ads. What a good MER is for a brand. There are like industry standards that, typically work. However, how I like to do it is looking at a brand's P&L and basing it off of that. Like based off how much you guys are investing into your fixed costs and how much your variable costs are, your cost of goods and all that. What makes sense as a percentage of revenue to reinvest back into ads? So like from a high level, that helps unite our team, who's primarily managing paid ads in addition to a bunch of other stuff, with the accountant, with the founder. Like we can all unite on that and agree, regardless of if Facebook's not giving us the right data today, where are we at trajectory wise as a brand? So that's one number. The next thing, contribution margin. That's like a layer deeper. We're looking at what is the fuel profit per order. So regardless of if a brand's scaling and say like their fixed costs are double of what it was the previous quarter, and now our merge targets are different, contribution margin is still going to give us ultimate transparency into what is our profit per order. And again, make sure that our trajectory is positive and it's like where we want it to be. So there's two important metrics that I like to look at. Another topic that's pretty big is like attribution. It's so muddy nowadays that we use it for directional optimization in the accounts, but as far as like making sure the brand is growing and growing profitably, I'm looking at those high level metrics like MER and contribution margin and things like that.
Makes sense. And I know just so people can have like some context, right? How much are you guys spending currently on average, if there's a range you can give across your main platforms? I'm sure Meta is going to be probably the highest spender, and then Google, etc.
Yeah. So for our main platforms, let me see. I can actually pull up some data from the previous months, but we're averaging between 2 to 350K a month for our largest health and wellness client. When it comes to a platform by platform breakdown, Meta is getting most of the spend. So like, for example, I don't know what this breaks down to as percentages, but 177 on Meta last month, 162 on TikTok that same month, and then 16 on Google Ads. That's what the breakdown comes to. As far as TikTok, I know that there's a lot more scale potential there. Same thing on Meta, but there's bigger picture things that we're working on to be able to break into those spend ranges and not like kill our profit margins. Just, diminishing returns at scale is just something that you have to account for and fix.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned like 170 something, 77,000 on Meta, and TikTok was actually not too far behind, like
162.
Yeah, so you guys are spending a lot on TikTok ads too. I'm guessing that's TikTok Shop specifically, right?
Yeah, all of our ads right now go to TikTok Shop. We've tried TikTok like direct to site for a lot of brands, but it just feels like the attention span or the mind state that a user is in when they're on TikTok, unless you have a really dialed in site, it's going to be hard for it to back out and make sense.
Yeah.
Not saying it's something we won't return to, but there are a lot of big picture edits like checkout optimizations, landing page optimizations, overall like navigation, everything on the site that we're working on improving so that we could bring that back in as a sales channel. Because one thing about TikTok, if you guys don't know, like they don't give you your emails or customer phone numbers. So as much as I love scaling on it because it has some of the best returns on the spend, it's like what type of long-term value are we adding to the brand in terms of ownership of that data?
Interesting. So if I understand it right, you're looking at a bit over 300 grand a month on ads across Meta, TikTok, and Google, right? How much revenue are you guys typically doing on a monthly basis, just so people can get an idea of like the return on ad spend?
Right now, it's north of 1.2 million a month. On our highest, remember I said it's like a fluctuation between 250 to 350 a month in spend right now. So when we're on the higher end of spend, it'll be more towards like halfway towards 2 mil, maybe a little bit more than that. That's where we're hovering right now. We're hovering there. The reason being is the biggest constraints are just those diminishing returns at scale. We see conversion rates dip. We see intent from the users that we're driving to the site dip. So right now we're in a slow down to speed up phase so we can unbottleneck the landing pages to check out, stuff like that.
Makes sense. And right now, what would you say is like the mixture between new customers and returning customers? Because I think that's the biggest thing that usually allows brands to scale this well.
Yeah. So because before we came into this brand, they were not pushing ads hard enough. Like it wasn't something that they ever invested in too heavily. Returning customers made up probably, let me see, 60, 65. Yeah, returning customers made up 60 to 70% of the orders per month. When we came in, we set a target for that to be at least 70% new customers because growth is our most important thing. So since the year to date, we've been averaging 70 to 80% new customer acquisition. So like we're not mad. I'm not mad at the wall that we're hitting right now. We're trying to scale further than that. Like to do the numbers that we're doing and have the returns that we have at such an aggressive acquisition.
Yeah.
Whatever makeup is, I'm chilling.
Those are healthy numbers. I think that's pretty much like the ideal numbers. Everybody tends to try and be around that 70 or 80, 20, 70, 30.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, are you guys going negative at all on new customer acquisition, or is it all profitable even with Meta?
It's all profitable acquisition.
Wow.
Yeah, the brand has a very strong organic makeup. That's become one of my requirements for e-com brands. Like I don't like it when ads drive everything because it becomes too volatile or reliant. Because Facebook, it's not ad platforms in general. It's not when if they go down, it's when your campaign that's been working forever stops working. So because of that, because the strength that the brand has organically, like it naturally grows as paid grows, because those new people that we're introducing to the brand, they actually have something to stay for after the ads are taken out of the equation. Right. Like there's that personality, that brand persona there that keeps it growing, and then their friends come on. So it's been very interesting to watch, like this organic growing at the same pace as paid.
Yeah, that's definitely a good position to be in, and I'm sure emails and Amazon probably bringing in a significant amount of revenue too.
Yeah, they're doing well. Emails, we don't manage emails. That's one of the things that are, I think, our core, but we don't manage as an agency. I felt like if we took that on, we become a jack of like too many trades and not really an expert at any.
Yeah.
So that's something that's being overhauled right now. But again, it just shows the opportunity on the table to still be able to do what we're doing without that fully dialed in yet,
Yeah. No, very interesting. And what would you say is the hardest part of managing ads and marketing in general for a brand that's spending, about $300K a month on ads?
Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
It's definitely going to be keeping up with creative volume.
Yeah.
And not just putting creative in the account, but is this creative shot by someone who actually likes the product and can talk about it in an authentic way where it doesn't just feel like they're spitting off a script that they got submitted because they're on Bilio trying to make some money. Like, that's the hardest part. And that's also one of the reasons why this brand has such a strong organic presence, the authenticity in their organic content, but also, we repurpose that for ads, so authenticity in their ad content as well. So that's been the biggest part. But would I say it's hard? I wouldn't call it hard. I would call it challenging, because if the product is great, you'll be able to find people that can do everything I just said easily. If it's not, then it's hard. And I want to reflect on Layla Hormozi. Like, she talks a lot about this. Like, when product is good, everything gets easier. Like, product affects every single thing. So I would say just focus on having a good product, and nothing will be too hard or not able to overcome.
Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, I think that's the advantage of people looking to buy established brands versus like more so launch from scratch, is you can buy really, really nice, I guess, older brands with nice products, but weaker marketing, versus like most dropshippers that I know, or even people in e-com that I know that launch, we typically become really good at marketing, but suck at product development and things like that, because we focus on customer acquisition. Yeah.
Yep.
Creatives make sense. I'm curious, are you guys doing like any image ads right now, or is it all mainly videos?
So Image has been something we've tested a fair amount of. It's mainly been like repurposing stuff that has been posted on organic. Now, with that being said, like organic content teams and paid media marketing teams are totally different. Like we see things differently. What can fly in organic and get engagement is not the same thing that will necessarily always work on paid. So our testing of it in the past hasn't really fruited much results. That's one thing, because we just kind of repurpose what was on organic. The second thing is Meta has a new update, Meta, or however you say it. And apparently, I was talking to ChatGPT about it. It's smarter at being able to distribute images to the right audience. Historically, it's been able to do that better with video. Now I'm reading that it's almost similar or the same in terms of how well it can do that. So we've relaunched a new image initiative and have been creating them from scratch, from the ground up, but with a paid media direct response perspective. Okay. So we haven't rolled it out yet. It's still in development, but when it does, I'll be able to report back on that. But I'm pretty confident in what we're doing because it's really looking good so far.
Nice. You mentioned something that is probably a great segue with AI. You said you're speaking to ChatGPT a lot to understand these meta updates. How do you see AI affecting your workflow, with your clients, and how do you think it's going to keep on changing the landscape of growing an e-commerce brand in the future?
Yeah, I definitely think if you're not using AI, you're going to fall behind. Not even think, I know that you'll fall behind. With that being said, I think there's two schools of people who use AI. The people who expect AI to brainstorm everything and create that idea out of thin air versus the people who still put that organic mind power into their own ideas and own direction and then have AI refine it. That second group, I believe, will go farther because I don't see AI at a point where it can do it all yet. Yes, technically you can do it all, but is the output going to outperform someone who still puts their brain power into that initial ideation? My answer is no for that, at least right now. So yeah, I definitely see it impacting every part of our workflow. I try to integrate it everywhere we can, but I also just try to make sure that anybody that I'm working with, from the creative strategists to copy strategists to overall just growth strategists that are on the team, we're still putting a healthy amount of our own ideas on paper before we just go to the AI for it.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned a role that's pretty much emerging, and I think it's been a trend in the past maybe 2 to 3 years, which is the creative strategist, right?
Yep.
Can you just kind of explain what is a creative strategist and why they're so important when you're scaling ads on Meta these days?
Yeah. So why a creative strategist is important for us is, you can, nothing in this DTC ecom game is about feeling. Like some of it is, but when it comes to getting results and ROI, you can't just do everything based off feeling. There needs to be strategy behind it. So what our creative strategist is responsible for is understanding when an ad is working, how can we iterate on that 5 times, 6 times, 10 times to double the value that we're getting out of that versus starting from scratch with a brand new ad and having a much higher likelihood of it not working. So it's like, there's 3 things. Another thing from Hermosi and Layla, there's more, better, new. More is just like, more is the least risky. Better is a little bit more risky, and new is like the riskiest. So a creative strategist, at least for us, like they're focusing on doing better of whatever's already working to keep our risk low and just like keep our chance of assets that we push out into the ad account performing at the highest level. Outside of that, we still do have them produce net new creative as well, but just from the standpoint of how strong is this creative scroll stopper, which is like if you're if you're scrolling on Instagram, what is the thing that stops you before you hear anything? So like, what's that visual thing that stops you? The next thing is hooks. Everybody knows what hooks are. Like, what's that? What's baiting you to watch the rest of the video? What are core videos that are working? What environments are these videos working in? How long are they? So just analyzing and breaking down the creative scientifically so that we can just make sure that we're optimizing based off data, not emotion and what feels good and just what looks good. I see a lot of brands that do too much of that, and they do too little of data reflection, and then they wonder why certain things can't scale.
Mm-hmm. And at the 300K a month spend, right? And I think, well, let's say 170 something on Meta. How many creatives are you guys testing on a weekly basis?
On a weekly basis, it's actually not too much at this current moment. It's like 3 to 5 net new creatives. Okay. And those 3 to 5 will have iterations of each. The goal and a part of what the plan is to unblock us in our scale journey is getting that number to 7 to 15 net new creatives per month. So it kind of goes back to your question about what's one of the hardest / most challenging things, which is getting authentic, passionate creative in the account. So meeting that 7 to 15 piece net new creative per week is going to be challenging to make sure all of those are authentic and passionate, but it can definitely be done. Kind of segues back into AI. There's an app called Yuka. Just kind of learned about it not too long ago, and it helps automate the outreach to TikTok Shop affiliates. So that's something that we plan to really leverage and use with getting our creative flywheel spinning faster.
Okay. So it sounds like you guys have a similar workflow to a lot of people who have brands on TikTok Shop, where you're testing your creatives organically on TikTok with affiliates, and then taking the best creatives from TikTok Shop and testing them on Meta. Is that accurate?
Yep. And I really love doing that because what works on TikTok can work on Meta, but what works on Meta won't necessarily work on TikTok. So we definitely focus all of our creative efforts as like, let's make this for TikTok because we know that we'll get the most use out of it if we do it that way.
Yeah, makes sense. And then, like, as far as your team structure, right? Can you talk a bit about that, since you're pretty much running the entire marketing for these 8-figure brands, right? So you mentioned kind of who are the key individuals on your team, whether it's the media buyers, creative strategists, etc., and how that might look different at the 7-figure a month versus at the 6-figure versus 7-figure a month revenue levels.
Yeah, so I would say my experience back when we were doing 6-figure months for brands, all we really needed was copywriter. I bought the ads, and then like a video and graphic editor. Outside of that, we were kind of just finessing the creative strategy, repurposing stuff that was on organic, finding examples, sending that to clients and influencers to recreate. But there wasn't really a dedicated person for as many positions as we have now. But yeah, to recap, copywriter, media buyer, and content editor, like that's 6 figures. To get these 8-figure brands to where they are now, I had to bring in more people to just focus on those individual things. So like now the team, we have a copywriter, but she's not just a copywriter, she's a copy strategist. Like there's a lot of writers out there where they'll take the brief and they'll just do exactly what the brief says, but there's a need to really think about who's going to see this audience, what is the product, and like how does just thinking a layer deeper, doing research. A lot of copywriters don't do research before they write the copy; they just write it.
Yep.
And there's it comes out way differently when that doesn't happen. So copywriter, now we got a media buyer, 2 media buyers actually, one for Meta, one for Google. 3 actually, one for TikTok. Creative strategist, getting to that 8-figure level, a growth marketer definitely makes sense. There's someone that just purely is focusing on strategy. They don't really have to do much else. I think that's one of the most important things. a brand needs to get to that level. Just someone whose job is just to sit and think, just sit and like lay out the game plans. Um, Assistants like marketing assistants, developers, doing things like unbottlenecking ourselves when it comes to like CRO and stuff. That requires a lot of custom developed visuals, checkouts, pages. It's hard to do that with the Shopify theme editor. I don't personally believe what we need from a CRO standpoint can be achieved with a drag and drop editor. And sometimes it can, but like how many hoops are you gonna have to jump through to make it work, and plugins are you gonna have to get? Like we don't have time for that type of stuff. Dedicated designer, like we need someone who can design whatever it is, like whatever it is we're trying to do, like just design that out. Figma is something that we're using heavily with that. So those are the people that we have in place now. I forgot to mention video and graphic editor. Obviously, that's always super important. One thing that I had, but I'm looking for another one on, is a data scientist.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, Triple Whale, Hyros, whatever it is you're using, like those are good, but there's always a custom view that you want to see that platforms don't offer. And at this level, you kind of really need to see them. It could be the difference between missing out on some big problems or not being able to leverage some serious opportunity if you don't have the right views and dashboards set up.
Interesting. So, and I've heard about some people hiring data scientists like for e-commerce brands. So I'm kind of curious, kind of what metrics you might be looking for. I've heard of people focusing on things like LTV, right? Figuring that out. Are there some metrics in particular that you'd be looking for, if you hire a data scientist to be able to help you understand?
It's more so like the metrics I'm looking for, I have access to, whether it's on Shopify or Triple Whale, but it's about putting those metrics in one place relative to other metrics and painting a certain picture that I want to see. It's everything is database, and I feel like looking for the individual things in different places, it causes you to miss things versus when they're just all illustrated in one place. So that's the main thing I'm looking to do. Of course, there are some metrics that I can't think of right now that may not be readily available on the default dashboards, but yeah, that's what I would say when it comes to that.
Gotcha. So like building a custom centralized tool in-house where you can see everything you need without relying on Lifetimely and Triple Whale and, all these tools to figure out attribution, ROAS, LTV, etc. I'm guessing.
Yep, 100%. Like a great example is Triple Whale. Like I feel like really great platform, but I think they're trying to do a little bit too much in every direction. And one thing if you use Triple Whale, you know that you can't look at all ads on one screen in the ad manager part. You have to open each campaign and ad set, which can be very tedious when you're trying to like do a daily check on like where our ads sitting at multiple times a day. So like that's something that I would have a developer pull into a separate dashboard so we could look at it more easily. And they do have a creative upgrade option, but from my experience, I've noticed inconsistencies with the data on that tool. So again, like, developer helps you circumvent those things, especially when softwares are like, oh, we'll add it to our feature request list. And you kind of got to wait around until they get that done. So
yeah.
Time is yep.
What would you say is the biggest opportunity in digital marketing right now? Like, for example, let's say last year was TikTok Shop, right? And maybe even this year, TikTok Shop. What would you say end of 2025, going into 2026, is something that you don't hear too many people maybe talking about yet, but, that people should look into if they're into this digital marketing space?
That's a good question. I hate to repeat it, but I feel like it's still TikTok. Not necessarily. Well, yeah, it's still TikTok Shop. I think it's figuring out how to siphon your A-list creators from TikTok, not only to grow TikTok, but to fuel all other platforms that you're on. I think that's where it comes down to. TikTok Shop has really created a sub variant of affiliates who intuitively, just through the nature and culture of the platform, know how to sell better without it feeling like it's someone selling you. And that's why I really value it as a focus again for 2026.
Mm-hmm. Let's. I think this is a great thread we can pull on a bit because it seems to me like everybody is trying to get onto the TikTok shop wave, but everybody's not getting the same results, obviously, right? What do you think is the biggest difference between a brand that is able to scale with, six figures in spend on TikTok shop and grow profitably versus a brand that, can't really get it going?
I think it goes back to product. Is how good is the product, but also like, as I said, I don't have 100 clients, so I can't speak definitively about it. But I would say product quality, product price point. I feel like people on TikTok are typically they're buying lower AOV stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, and this kind of bridges off of the whole product quality thing, is just like the authenticity. Like, I think that's one of the main drivers, common denominators that I see in all the brands that we're partnered with in terms of like their TikTok shop results. I do have brands who have tried TikTok shop and it didn't really work out as well. And with those brands, it was just like the authenticity of the people that are talking about the products. It wasn't there as strong. So,
Gotcha. So, do you think that's like that goes? How do you think, if let's say I'm trying to launch a product on TikTok shop, maybe I just acquired a brand or maybe I already have one and I want to get on TikTok shop. Is that something where you've got to pick the right affiliates that actually, based on their previous videos, they represent your brand, or is more so about coaching them so that they know what to say, so that they sound like, they're actually genuinely
yeah,
supporting the brand?
I definitely think it comes down to the latter. Someone that's already just posting your stuff on their own energy, like someone that actually uses the product, whether or not they're getting paid for it.
Okay. Do you think would you say it helps if there's a founder that's actually making content, like founder led marketing already happening? Would you say that helps?
Yeah, 100%. Because if your affiliate flow isn't where it needs to be, the founder can definitely help fill the gaps. But it's a double-edged sword because the brand's going to grow to a point where it can no longer rely on the founder because the founder's time is getting eaten up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good interim solution, but it shouldn't be an end-all be-all.
Yeah, I see. Are there any categories of products that you say or that you've seen work best on TikTok shop?
Definitely health and wellness products. Just products that solve a specific problem. So a great example would be like handbags versus some like a feminine soap or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's solving the feminine soap, like it's solving a specific problem versus like handbags. It's like, yeah, it's solving a problem. Like women want pretty bags and stuff, but it's not as tangible.
Yeah.
Something like
it's not a strong pain point.
Yeah.
Attached to solve, that product is solving.
Exactly.
And then you mentioned like price point is important. Like, what would you say is the ideal price point for a TikTok shop product?
Don't quote me on this, but intuition says less than $50 AOV.
Gotcha. Okay. So just kind of like summarizing this for somebody, who's just trying to figure it out, right? Like they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to grow on TikTok shop. Maybe they got a health and wellness product. Say it's $30. They got the TikTok shop seller account. What's the first thing that they do? Is there a minimum number of affiliates they should look to onboard, or if you give them like a brief action plan for the first 30 days?
I would say make content with yourself on your own, founder-led content. Again, not as an end-all be-all plan, but it kind of helps you understand what the standard should be. And it also shows other people like how to talk about your product. And then this is a given. It should have already been done from before starting, but just make sure your product is really good, because the way that you're going to get affiliates like buying and making content with your product, even if you haven't reached out to them yet,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that the product was actually really good and they like it. Right. So that's one thing, one way to do it. Not saying you have to rely on that strategy for every affiliate you work with. Some you send samples. TikTok Shop has a very robust back end to support shops for getting products into affiliates' hands, and not only just getting it into any affiliate's hand, but looking at like what lane are they in, how often do they post, do they actually make money for other brands on TikTok Shop. So I would say, yeah, it comes down to that. Create founder content, get samples into affiliates' hands, have some sort of process for allowing them to experience the product, report back on how much they like it, and vetting people based off that to have them become a regular affiliate for the brand. And I would say double down on those two things: content flow, founder stuff.
So
Yeah, those are the two core things. I don't think it needs to get more complicated than that.
gotcha. Okay. And how important is it to have other channels in place when you're using TikTok to grow? For example, Amazon and Google, right? How important is it to have those set up if you're actively growing on TikTok or Facebook?
I think it's very important. I'm not a proponent of going on too many channels at once. But with that being said, it's just like certain channels solve a different purpose. Some people like Amazon because they don't pay for shipping and they get it super fast. Everything in the world nowadays is training people to be that way. Uber Eats, Uber, Amazon, like everything is a short term. Like people are looking for the instant gratification. So for that reason, Amazon makes a lot of sense. Google, Meta, those make sense alongside TikTok because again, you don't own your data on TikTok. So like you need to be making sure that you're growing that owned customer list so that when things like Black Friday come around, you have a list to reach out to. And that's the thing with TikTok. You still do have TikTok DMs. I'm not sure how new of a feature it is, but it's new to me. I would say that's the most equivalent replacement of email and SMS, but on TikTok side. But the downside is, yes, you can DM purchasers, followers, people who engaged, and it's free, by the way. That's another big plus. But you still don't own that data. So if your TikTok shop gets banned, so do your DMs. Just always want to hedge against that.
Yeah. That's I think that's always one of the risks with this online marketing stuff is ad accounts getting suspended.
Yep.
But there's always, I guess, solutions with like agency ad accounts and things like that. But you mentioned just now Black Friday, which is crazy, but it's already around the corner in like a month. How are you guys getting ready for Black Friday and like what goes into that process?
So I haven't, I don't know how much I want to share. I feel like I've never seen the strategy before, but how we're preparing is definitely a content heavy strategy. We don't, I'm a bit evergreen content for me has always performed the best, just like evergreen content and then putting like Black Friday copy with it. But this year I definitely want to have a lot of personalized stuff going out that's acknowledging like content made specifically for Black Friday, content made specifically for to be pushed out on Thanksgiving, like stuff like that. Just to really take personalization to the next level. But nothing fancy. Just the typical best practices. Hit the list hard, SMS and email. Grow the lists hard before. I mean, we've been doing that since January. That's why our acquisition goal is 70% minimum for new customers. So I would say, yeah, that's how we're getting prepared. Just nothing fancy. Just keep it simple. But
yeah. You said something that I think was key, and I kind of realized that maybe two Black Fridays ago when I had a skincare product that we were testing, and our CPM just went through the roof, right? Like around October, and we were like, yeah, there's no way we're gonna be able to scale ads, and we just started we almost thought about pausing ads, but we just ended up decreasing the budget and focusing on our list. So it sounds like you guys kind of do similar things. You really focus on pumping out uh, basically revenue from your email list and SMS list, and not so much from ads around Black Friday.
Yeah, I mean, granted, we'll still scale ads, but time and time again, every year, I've been doing this for 7 years now. It's like the most money is going to come from that existing customer base.
Yeah.
Every single time. So why not focus on that and build a solid strategy out around that?
Makes sense. Now, if you had to give somebody advice, let's say they're at a 6-figure a year mark, maybe 500K a year in revenue. What would you say is the number one thing they should focus on to grow their list, email and SMS?
So there's people I've tried giveaways so many times. I'm not a fan of them. I just personally think they acquired tire kickers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound like a recorder, but have a great product and acquire a shit ton of customers.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to grow a list that's quality.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Don't skip steps, right? Like make sure your customers have loyalty for your product and for your brand.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times people are looking for like hacks and tactics and stuff when like the best thing that needed to be focused on are the boring things like product development, product quality.
Yeah.
Customer service. That's a part of your service, and someone's experience with your brand is literally a part of the product. So all of that's important.
What's something that you wish more people, more founders or brand owners understood about marketing?
I would say the idea that these ad platforms are not profit tools, they're acquisition tools. And that doesn't mean that we don't prioritize profit when we're running ads, but you need to look at it and optimize everything around it for acquisition and long-term monetization of these people that are being acquired.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. So like essentially some people look at Facebook ads as we need to maximize our return on ad spend. Like we need to make as much as possible.
And have no email system set up. And it's just like, it makes sense. So
yeah, it's always crazy when I see some of these super high spending brands, like rice supplements or, you know, whoever, was a Happy Mammoth, right? Like that's millions a month. Typically their return on ad spend on Facebook is like 0.8x for new customers. But because of, you know, Google ads, because of Amazon, because of email, because of repeat customers, their blended ROAS is still typically profitable for them.
Yep.
So that makes sense. That makes sense. It's just tough in the beginning though, because you need those customers to, you know, you need to acquire those customers first before you have repeat customers.
It is. So yeah, there's one thing, there's definitely phases to it. You know, if you're not at the phase Rise is at, for example, don't try to push a 0.08 ROAS, but just understand that build a system that builds you to that point. That's what it comes down to. So if you're just starting out, yeah, hell yeah, like make sure profit is a priority on these platforms, but you know, start hedging away from that being a necessity in paid ads from day one.
Makes sense. Well, if we're gonna wrap up soon, but you know, you said you've been in this game for 7 years. That's a long time in e-commerce numbers too. That's like 15 years in any other industry.
Yeah.
If you could go back to, you know, have a conversation with Nick from 7 years ago, what would you tell Nick from 7 years ago? What advice would you give him?
I would tell him to delegate 10 times faster than he was, and just literally break even. Don't take any, like, just pay for your rent, food, and put everything else back into team delegation, because that's the only thing allowing me to deliver what these 8-figure brands need to have gotten where they are and to get where we're going.
Yeah, that's good advice. I got a quick follow-up on there. What's the one skill that, you would focus on, or you would tell somebody to focus on mastering for the next 5 years if they want to be successful in this e-commerce space?
I would say content. I know too many. I know a lot of brands who are maybe doing like 500K plus a month, and there's like no strong ad presence, but it's just because they have that content piece down.
Yeah.
They know how to push that part out. Like that carries them a long way.
Yeah.
And literally all the partners that I have right now, that's how I found them when we found them. And
Yeah.
it really, if you can do that, you'll be all right. With AI coming out and the platforms getting smarter, even if you don't understand ads and you're not the most strategic with CRO and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that will get you going and get you into a position where you can pay for and invest in a team to take you to the next level.
Yeah. That's great advice. In other words, like much better to be good at content and getting sales organically than becoming a Facebook ads expert when Facebook ads is becoming a commodity these days.
Yeah, ads are only going to amplify whatever you already have. So if you don't know how to do content, you're just going to amplify bad content.
Yeah.
And the agency or whoever is running your ads, they can help you create the content, but you still need to have the ability to do that too on your own for your organic sources. So ads aren't everything.
No, well, thank you, Nick. That's great advice. I appreciate you for your time. I know you're a very busy guy. You got a bunch of clients, well, you got a bunch of people that depend on you, on your own team and some of your clients. So I appreciate you taking the time. Any final words for the audience? Anybody listening?
No, appreciate you having me on. It was a great conversation. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out at nick@expertpublishing.com. Not too big on Instagram. Maybe I'll be in the future. But yeah, email me.
All right, guys, this is your host Adonis. This is the end of the show, so we're wrapping it up. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you like, you comment. If you have any questions, feel free to comment your question below, and then check the actual description on YouTube if you're on YouTube for Nick's email if you want to get in touch with Nick, and also a link to our free school community that we just relaunched, so you can get a lot of free resources there as well. But other than that, that's it, and I'll see you in the next episode.